when you have two teams undefeated going into a matchup, only one can be victorious. Who's it going to be? Hello, everyone. Welcome to Philly Sports Now, a Philly fan podcast. My name is Zach. With me is Andrew. We're back to talk all things Philly sports. Now, we are here to discuss the long-awaited. Me personally, I'll be honest. Tampa Bay lives rent-free in my head. I'm always thinking about the Bucs. I follow them. There is something about the Buccaneers. Maybe it's because I hate specific fans of theirs, especially when it comes to like social media stars. But the Tampa Bay Philadelphia matchup is always, I think, a fun one. It's usually a pretty aggressive matchup. And in Tampa Bay, I just think that's no exception. We have a lot to talk about today. I think to summarize, we're going to be talking about the injury reports for both teams, how Baker Mayfield's already trash talking a little bit before the game even starts, who's going to come out victorious, which ends up with our final thoughts. So, like I said, let's start with the injury report. And on the Philadelphia Eagles side, some major things. And I actually had some conflicting reports now that I'm looking at a Wednesday participation versus a Thursday participation. But going off of Wednesday, we had Zach Bond and uh did not participate. But I believe Zach Bond did participate today. Andrew, did you see that?
I did not. I think they were more active today. So yeah, I think you're right there.
I think he was limited. I also know that Lane Johnson participated today, so that's good to see. Although I still can't get over the whole stinger thing. I am curious to see how he runs, not literally, but maybe. I am curious to see how he plays coming off of an injury like that. Because even though it's one that might not stop him from playing, I do think it's one that hinders his ability. And, I said the same thing about Dickerson playing. I don't think he's 100%, and I think that's just visible. And I think these injuries are going to be very key. Another one that was out, I believe, but isn't on this is Nolan Smith. Am I correct?
Yes, because he's on the IR, so they take him off the injury
Right.
list. But yeah,
So
if he's on the
it's
IR.
we did not talk about that, so I wanted to bring that up as well. So I think defensively, Nolan Smith and Zach Bond are the two key things to look at here, which brings a very damaged defense to Tampa Bay. Now, I think the Tampa Bay team is also fairly damaged, especially when you go and look at the offensive side for, two receivers. One of them still Godwin still played, but Mike Evans is did not participate this week. So major key for Baker Mayfield's offense. Not the only thing he has available, but I mean definitely their star power as far as receiving goes. And it's an interesting matchup. I think this is going to be a very interesting, very good game. Andrew, what are your thoughts on? I guess let's say Andrew, how do you feel about these injuries going into the game?
Yeah, I think it's going to really impact it. And I think the weird part is the Eagles' main injuries are on defense, and the Buccaneers' main injuries are on offense. So it's weird how that's working out. So it's almost going to even it back out to a sense in that direction.
It
But yeah,
almost
I
puts
think
it in the Eagles' favor in that sense.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think everything I've looked at, it seems like Mike Evans is going to be, he's more on the doubtful side than the questionable side. And I mean, that's huge. He's a guy that obviously he's been one of the best receivers in the game since he's been in the league, constant guy at 1,000 yards. Um, it's going to ease up the Eagles a little bit. They're already missing. Um, they're with the Eagles, obviously, the Dory Jackson stuff, the Quinyon Mitchell, it'll even out that for the Eagles. Like you said, it's going to help them out. Now the Buccaneers do look like they might get Chris Godwin back this week. He's been a full participant at practice. This would be his first game. He hasn't played yet, so he'd be an interesting situation back for the Buccaneers because that's the 1-2 punch there for the Buccaneers. So they're going to get one of those guys potentially back this week, and
Yeah,
I
but
think
to
that
that extent, I would say I'm not as afraid of Godwin as I am of Evans. I know Evans is on the older side, but I still think he's the better of the two receivers.
Yes, no, for sure. And I think the Baker Mayfield stuff this week, he's dealing with injuries. I mean, I expect him to play. He always seems like he always finds a way to play. But I mean, we'll see. I mean, obviously a quarterback there, and they list as his right bicep. That's his throwing arm. So I think that's an interesting spot there. We'll see how that messes with him potentially. And he's a guy that can scramble, so he's going to use his legs a lot as well.
Did you see the
But
clip
it's something to watch.
where Baker got hit? I believe it was last week. It might have been 2 weeks ago. But where Baker got hit, he goes down in a way that's like he could have gotten taken off the field, but then he jumps right back up in a half second.
Yeah, and that's the way he is. If he's even like that in
He's
college.
a juggernaut. Like
Yeah.
truly, maybe the worst thing the Browns have done is getting rid of Baker Mayfield.
Man, I can't stand. I've dealt with Baker Mayfield for a while now because I got to watch him for 4 years at Oklahoma State, and he killed Oklahoma State every time too. So
Yep.
he's been a thorn in my in my ankle for a while now. It's so there's nothing more that I want to beat him.
The thing he specifically talked about was trying to plan around exhausting the Eagles because of the weather. I think it's supposed to be like 101 degrees and humid because it's Tampa Bay, which
That's
is
what.
a true thing. It's crazy. Like up here in Pennsylvania, we're starting to hit fall weather. Like it's still a little warm out, but we're definitely no longer in those 80, 90-degree temperatures. So to go from a crisp 75 to 101 and humid, I do think that makes a difference. And those big guys can sweat, so it's gonna be tough. But I don't know. Do I think it's gonna hinder them? Sure. Do I think that like causes them to lose? No.
Um, I'd say I think it does have an impact. I mean, we've seen it. I think it affect this team in the past. I mean, just cramping wise, I think might be the biggest thing here. I mean, we've seen guys go down, and it'd be interesting to see. Especially the linemen. I mean, what kind of effect does it have on them? Rushing the quarterback or certain spots. But if the Buccaneers try to play fast, and right, they skip a couple huddles and they go hurry up offense, it's going to mess with the defense a little bit. And I think I mean, I would be interested to see how it does affect it, and I think it will have an impact. And I think we've seen it in the past with these guys in different games. So I'm curious, but I think, and that's the tough part, right? There's no way to kind of game plan for it, right? If you're worried about a receiver or a quarterback, you can kind of have the practice squad fill in different spots and fix some of those things, but you can't. What are you gonna do? Go to inside facility and turn the heat up?
They did go down to Tampa Bay a day early, I saw, which
I
is
did see
better
that.
than
Yeah,
doing nothing. Like, it is a great idea. Go get acclimated to the weather. Now, how many of those guys are going to their hotel rooms and putting the thermostat at 65 degrees? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're just completely negating any effects. I don't know. I go back and forth on the weather. Do I think it's real? Yes. But I also think it's kind of a cop out. Like, you have the Los Angeles fans and the Los Angeles Rams blaming the snow for losing in the playoffs last year, and then they go and lose again to us last week.
for
Yeah.
sure. So I'm not. I don't think it's gonna be that like, oh, we lost that game because it was 100 degrees. I just think you're gonna see it affect the players in the sense of like being like you might see the Eagles rotate the D line, right? Because
I
the Eagles always talk about the rotation and how they have the depth. You might see, instead of having these guys play four straight downs, you might see them rotate every other down or something like that. So I'm saying the rotation might be different. I'm not, if the Eagles lose this game, I'm not going to sit here on our recap episode and be like, if it was 82 degrees instead of
If it
100
was
degrees,
82 and a little
a little
crisp.
wind.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's one of those things where the NFL, the teams, whatever, there's so much money. They're going to be ready, whether it's constant Gatorade hydration. They'll literally have IVs, not liquid IV, that you and I go buy at the drugstore. They're going to have real IVs on the sidelines that I bet they are constantly putting in and out of them. Like, not to get gross, but like I would be willing to bet $1,000 that within the first or second quarter, at some point, I don't remember, Fox. So it's a Fox game. Fox newscasters are going to talk about the weather, and they're going to have the camera zoom in on the IVs sitting next to the player bench.
Yeah, and on top of that, I think it all starts with the night before, right? Is making sure you're hydrated the night before because once you get to the game, it's kind of too late at that point because of what their bodies go through during games. So it's all about the pregame prep there, and I mean, obviously they got the athletic trainers and the sports performance people there to get them fully ready for that. And obviously they know that by now, but I think that's when it's all starting is making sure you're hydrated before that, and that'll help avoid some of those cramps.
Now, going to what I think the current season both of these teams are having, right? It's been a very they're both undefeated. They're both 3-0. And to be honest, both teams have been winning by some pretty close matchups. If we real quick go through this, the Eagles win 24 to 20 over Dallas. They win 20 to 17 over Kansas City. And then, the Rams 33 to 26, but we all know it was a real 27 to 26, right? So, very close games. You go look at the Buccaneers, it's the same thing. You have a 23 to 20 win over the Atlanta Falcons. You have a 20 to 19 win over Houston, and you have a 29-27 win over the New York Jets. It's just very odd how similar those matchups are in these slim wins. Now, we're 3 weeks in. This is week 4. This is the point of we're not in the preseason talk. Like those first 3 weeks, I think, especially the first two, yes, we are in that preseason mentality because no one actually plays in the preseason and they're still getting their footing. This is the week things should be rolling. As we talked about before with the Rams game, how at halftime they flipped the switch, and that switch needs to be flipped going into this game. Patullo and Hurts has to be on the same page about the passing game, the running game, starting in the first quarter. I don't want to see adjustments needing to be made. I want them to know we have to trust Hurts and using the arm in order to open up the run game with Barkley. Now, before I throw it to Andrew on how these teams match up together, I do want to point out something. I think an interesting thing, and I joked about this before with the Kansas City Baltimore matchup coming up on, I believe, Sunday Night Football, how I think Baltimore 1-3 is not reflective of their team, whereas I do think Kansas City 1-3 is reflective of their team. 1-2 for both, sorry. But going to this 3-0 for both Tampa Bay and Philadelphia, it's very interesting, right? Because look at the three teams that both of these teams have played. Philadelphia has played Dallas, which was believed to be a playoff contender, high hopes going into the season. Kansas City, which is the dynasty, whether it's on its last legs or not. And then Los Angeles, the recently Super Bowl winning team that is still fighting for another chance. Then you go to the Tampa Bay teams. You have Atlanta, Houston, who I think is still just kind of figuring them. They're just not there yet. They're getting better, but they're not there yet. And then you have the New York Jets, who are the New York Jets. Do we really have to say anything else about them? I think when it comes to kind of black and white and looking at who these teams have played, the Eagles have definitely had the harder matchups. And I think in theory, that would be reflected in a stronger Eagles team going into this game.
Oh, for sure. The Falcons, they just benched Michael Penix last game because of how bad he was playing, and they brought back Kirk Cousins. They lose to the lowly Carolina Panthers 30 to nothing. Then you talk about the Texans, who are 0-3 and had to cut C.J. Gardner-Johnson because of locker room issues there. And then, like you said, the Jets are the Jets. So I think, yeah, for sure, the Eagles have had the harder schedule. You look at who the Eagles play. Tough division matchup in the Cowboys. The runner-up last year, the Kansas City Chiefs. And then, of course, battle the undefeateds last week. The Eagles were on top of that. Now you get another battle, the undefeated. So, yeah, it's Eagles will have their hands full. These are two very good teams. I mean, I think you talked about it, having, the Buccaneers in the back of our heads just because of what has happened. I mean, the Buccaneers owned us last year in a dominating win. They owned us in the playoff game when Hurts went down. I think that was Hurts' first playoff game, Tom Brady's last year. So, yeah, I mean, we have bad visions down there in Tampa. And then, yes, we mentioned it in the recap video last week, the one in Philadelphia in the playoff game, right? So, yeah, Eagles fans definitely remember this Tampa Bay team like crazy. And I think it's something that's going to be in the back of fans' heads. I don't think that we have to worry about the team thinking about it, but I think going forward here, it's going to be a fun battle that these two teams, very, very good top to bottom, offense and defense. I think, certain areas is key here. And I think going into this game, you look for those advantages, and I think the Eagles do slightly have more.
So going into predictions here, after everything we've talked about, the injury reports, the matchups, the previous matchups for both teams, I think it's a very interesting game. But while I know I've said this before, but when it comes to the Eagles, I truly have stopped being superstitious. I since the 2017 Super Bowl win, I have stopped being superstitious. That being said, Tampa Bay, dude, just they have a thing. In the last 5 matchups, the Bucks have won 4 of them. Tampa Bay just pulls out the Eagles number every time. And I think while the Eagles are the better team going into this, like I truly like I stand with everything I just said. I truly think the Eagles are the better team going into this game. I just don't think they pull it off. I think the Eagles lose 27-23 Bucks win.
Yeah, I think this game turns into a very similar game to what we saw against the Chiefs in week 2. I think it's going to be a low scoring battle back and forth with these two teams. I think Tampa Bay's Buccaneers defensive line is going to be good. And then I I truly believe the loss of Mike Evans is where it's really going to hurt the Buccaneers. I think they're going to look to go to the tight end in Kate Otten, and then they look for the rookie Mega Ibuka to really step up here for them. But I don't think that's going to be enough. I think the loss of Mike Evans, who is almost a guarantee 100 yards each game, especially what he's done to the Eagles in the past, is going to be a key loss for them. And I think the Eagles run that, wear down, wear and tear type offense with the run game. I think this is a game we might be hearing a lot of complaining about the passing game again afterward, because I think the Eagles do go run heavy, control the clock, time of possession. And I think it's going to come down to really the start of this game, because, again, I think the Eagles want to wear them down with the run game. So if the Eagles can jump out to a good start and control the clock through there, I think that's where you get the success and the turn to the defense. And, again, I think the loss of Mike Evans, assuming he doesn't play at this point, is going to be a big difference in this game. I'm gonna take the Eagles 20-16.
First flip matchup for us, so we'll see who wins. I will say one final comment. If the Eagles win this game, which I, again, think is possible, but if the Eagles win this game, there is a very real chance all of a sudden that the Eagles could go 8-0 into the bye.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough. I think going forward, yeah, you look at the Broncos. I mean, it's at home, but their defense can win any game. The Vikings now, with their quarterback issues, the injury, they're at Wentz right now. So that's obviously on the road would be an interesting game. The game you look at, though, is going to be Green Bay. The game in Lambeau Field is going to.
Yeah, but that's after the bye.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what I'm saying. Like that could be our first. That could be the Eagles' first loss, realistically.
Yeah, no, it's going to be interesting. I thought the real one was going to be the Chiefs, and they found a way to pull that one off. I think, because coming into the year, I think I said 3-1. The loss was to the Chiefs, and obviously,
I definitely said 2-2 after week 4, and so I am already at a point where whatever the turnout is after this week, we're in a better state than I thought. So
we're at the state I thought. So I mean, yeah, I think we're in a good spot regardless. I mean, obviously, yeah, we want to go out there and win the game, but I think, yeah, it's not.
It is funny being in this spot of win or lose, the Eagles are in a good spot regardless.
Yeah, and there's no. I forget who it was, but put out there when we faced the Chiefs is like, this would be an acceptable loss. I'm not going to go sit here and be like, oh, it's an acceptable loss. There's no such thing as an acceptable loss. I can't.
As long as you learn, you got to learn from a loss. That's the thing. You have to admit to what's wrong and learn from it. Well, thank you everyone for listening to Philly Sports Now, a Philly fan podcast. You can find us on social media. Links are in the description below. Make sure you're following us on Twitter specifically and Spotify. Make sure you please go and follow and listen on Spotify. We really appreciate it. We've got 2 new subscribers on YouTube this week, so thank you very much for subscribing and hope you enjoy the show. Thank you everyone for listening, and as always, go Birds. Good night. Go!